look in the mirror and I feel proud of what I've done, then that means that thing that I've done must be in accordance with the values that are most important to me. And if I do something that is against those values, it wouldn't matter if I won the Nobel Prize. I would still never feel I did enough because I've betrayed like who I am and what I have to offer.
Welcome to the Find Your Influence podcast. This episode, proudly sponsored by the Guinea Group of Companies, an organisation that helps leaders upgrade their mindset, upskill their leadership, and uplift their teams. If you would like the opportunity to sponsor an episode of our podcast, please reach out to the team at the Guinea Group, theguineagroup.com.au, the team at theguineagroup.com.au. Can't wait to hear from you. And if you would like to be a podcast guest, click on the information sheet that is available on the podcast page. For all of our listeners out there, you will understand why Dr. Marji and I are so excited. This is first time we just got to know each other and we just had a blast without the record button on, which is really painful for everyone involved. And Dr. Marji, this is a massive shout out, was so accommodating and so understanding and so empathetic. It was the most beautiful response. Oh, well, it happens. And Dr. Marji said this morning when I said, why were you so positive about that? And you said,
I just put myself in your place and imagine how you would feel. So,
isn't that beautiful?
And yes. I just appreciate you having me on your amazing podcast. So there you go.
And we were just talking about one of our other amazing guests, Dr. Jen Martin, who's fantastic as well. And for everyone's benefit out there, I have just sent Dr. Marji a photo of me hugging a tree, which for most of you at the moment, that will sound really weird and you won't know what the heck we're talking about, though, well, it's a plant more than a tree. But as we get into this, you'll get why that's so important to Dr. Marji. Dr. Marji, just before we talk about that and your mission of conservation and your science mission, where did it all start for you? Can you tell us a little bit about, and our listeners and our watchers or viewers, where this all kicked off for you?
Yeah, so ever since I was a little kid, I loved being outside, and I'm from Generation X, so the parenting style for us was you got kicked out of the house after breakfast and you weren't meant to come home until dark when the street lights came on. And so I used to roam around in the woods, climb trees. The neighborhood kids and I would build forts in the wilderness. One of my favorite things was to run through fields of wildflowers in the spring when I used to live in North Carolina. So yeah, I just always connected with being outside, riding my bike. And so then when I went to university, I did an undergraduate degree, which was liberal arts, maybe not something Australians think about much, but it means that you take a wide range of subjects from performing arts to philosophy to religion to science to literature, mathematics, everything. And so you get a dabbling in everything. And then I discovered geography. And geography is interesting because it's kind of a synthesis kind of approach. So if you think about it, everything that exists is located somewhere. And geography is about where things are, why they're there, why they aren't somewhere else, and how that's changed. So you can imagine that geography can be applied to anything. And so I loved that I didn't have to narrow down into something really specific, and I could just continue to be creative and explore like through a science career. Yeah, and then when I was in my last year of that degree, I got the chance to go on a foreign semester abroad program to South America. So there were 4 lectures and about 40 students and we went to Mexico, Costa Rica, Ecuador, Chile, and Argentina. And that was when I really got my first introduction to the marine and coastal environments. So I went camping for the first time and slept in a hammock. I went snorkeling on a reef for the first time. I got to climb all kinds of trees in the Amazon rainforest. I saw a mother sea turtle laying her eggs on the beach, on a black sand beach. Yeah, so it was an amazing experience, which really inspired me to want to travel the world and do whatever I can to like help protect our ecosystems. And then, if you're wondering how did I end up in Australia, because I grew up in the U.S., went to school in the U.S. I was doing my master's degree in environmental management at Duke University in North Carolina, and we were meant to select a cool location, go there for a few months over the summer break, and then use that experience to write up a master's thesis. And I became a little bit competitive because this was a really amazing master's program with so many super talented people. And they kept telling me, oh, yeah, I was in Africa with the Peace Corps. And, oh, I was doing this. And yeah, I tried to think of the coolest possible thing I could imagine. And I remembered reading in my grandfather's National Geographic magazines about the Great Barrier Reef. So in my, naive young person can do anything mode, I called up the chairwoman of the Great Barrier Reef Marine Park Authority and said, hey, can I come over and work for you for 3 months? You don't even have to pay me. And she was like, okay. So that's how I came to Australia, to Townsville, and then I ended up doing a PhD at James Cook University, and then moving to Australia for good. And so I've been a lecturer in geography at James Cook University and at University of Wollongong, and now I'm a research scientist at the Australian Institute of Marine Science. So that's the story.
What a story, Dr. Murray. What a story.
Thanks.
That's off tap. And where I live, like our town is it called the Gateway? Are we the gateway to the Barrier Reef?
Ooh.
Gladstone? Yeah. We're right on the bottom edge. So, you can sort of tour from Gladstone.
Yes. In fact, when I came over for that first 3 months, I did a tour out of Gladstone to the Swains Reefs, which are amazing.
Absolutely.
And there's a guy called Harold Heatwall who's a expert in sea snakes, and he led the trip. And while we were on the trip, we got to catch a whole bunch of olive sea snakes, which are highly poisonous, and he taught us how to milk them for venom.
Whoa, hold on a second.
So yeah,
I don't think we can be friends, Dr. Murray, because that sounds way too scary. Did you get
I'm
bitten?
still alive, so
You got through it. Woo!
yeah.
Are they that venomous? Like, are they minutes to death?
Yeah, it depends how much venom they happen to have in them at the time that they bite you. But the ironic thing is they're super friendly. And so we were at this reef called Surprise Reef, and there were like dozens of these sea snakes swimming right in our faces because they were curious. But if you accidentally like smack them with your flipper or something and they bite you, I mean, maybe they wouldn't get you through the neoprene of your suit, but if they got your bare skin, like, the guy leading it, he'd been bitten many times and saved by the anti-venoms that he helped create. So yeah, it was a bit nerve-wracking.
That's a heck of a story. I was
I'm filled with stories.
I love it. I was out milking snakes off Gladstone at Swains Reef.
Yeah, unfortunately, that was in 93.
Oh,
And so I don't have pictures like you would today.
no, right.
You have to just trust me.
It won't come up on your memories on Facebook then, is what I'm hearing.
Yep.
Good on you. What a great yarn. Thank you so much. And I'm blessed that we've had conversations twice and that you're able to put in news stories that you didn't tell me last time. So
Oh,
thank you. Thanks for, and I know that wouldn't be my mistake either. So thank you for being so open-minded and so caring and so willing to one, give your time, but two, to be more original this time around. So thank you.
no problem.
Massive gratitude. And I love lecturing, and I think I said this to you last time as well. I just love your take on geography, where things are, but not where, but why. I love the why piece, what's moved here and what's moved there.
Yeah, I
And
mean, it's super relevant right now with climate change. So, and what if you've had other marine biology type people on here, they might have talked to you about something called range shifts. So that's where the range of an animal species is just like where you generally find it. And so as it's getting warmer, in Australia further south, um, where they normally couldn't live, you're finding species are starting to survive in these new areas. So corals, for example, in Western Australia have been found further south than what they used to be. So it's important to pay attention to things changing where they are.
range shift. And I
Yeah.
think I shared with you last time that Dr. Jen Martin, what an amazing human, the marathon runner,
Yeah.
did the sex life of possums. And I find that.
Oh, fantastic.
So that was very intriguing. I can't remember what she told me, but it was something highly engaging. so,
That's
but
the funny thing about science is there's this perception that it's super boring, but it's really not. It's super fascinating. But
oh,
then to me, a nerd is a compliment. If someone says I'm a nerd, I take that as a huge compliment. So
I've never been called one, sadly. I'm not at that level of intelligence, sadly. I've got a son who has, and I always say smart like his dad, but we both know that he's smart like his mum. But
oh, well, my son Daniel is topping his year in math, so he's way ahead of me.
go, Daniel. You're going to get ducks?
I mean, he's just in year 8, so
Right. Cool.
he's got a while.
Good on him. Good on him. Beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing. Now, from a influence perspective, I know your mum was a big deal for you, and I think RIP to mum.
Thank you.
So, mum had a big impact on your life, inspiration, impact, and influence.
Yeah, that's right. So, my mom, one of her greatest achievements was what they call breaking the cycle of abuse. So, she grew up in an abusive household. For her, it was mainly verbal abuse, but for her older brother, he was physically abused. And interestingly, her younger siblings were born much later, and they had a totally different experience. But um, I've got 2 sisters, and she never abused us, but you can see the toll that it took on her having grown up in that. You've probably heard about hypervigilance, where someone's super dialed in trying to figure out what you want. And so she would always try and give us we what she thought we wanted to hear and stuff like that. But she when she was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, it was a horrible almost 5 years of suffering for her, slowly disintegrating before our eyes. But it had a silver lining, like almost everything always does, in that all those layers of angst and trauma like just melted away, and she was able to have like real genuine relationships with us in a much deeper way than like she ever had before, for those last few years. So um, yeah, and like even through her whole illness, she just showed such grace and gratitude. It was very inspiring, but also she was a teacher of learning disabled um, year 7 and 8 students. And I think watching her be so empathetic and creative and dedicated to helping them learn, because these kids were often treated as discipline problems and bad kids when actually they just needed more care. So watching her do that, I think, really informed me. I was a teacher, a university lecturer for 10 years, and our team at University of Wollongong won a national teaching award. So, yeah, but it's just so fun doing outreach and teaching, trying to understand your audience and think of ways you could meet them where they are and engage them with their body, their mind. And so when I do outreach with kids, because I've talked to about 9,000 kids about climate change since 2021. And I ask them, what do penguins and coral reefs have in common? And it's classic geography, because when you look at their habitat, what kind of weather they have, what they eat, even how many eggs they lay, because penguins lay one and corals produce like thousands, millions of eggs. When you look at all that, they have nothing in common, but they both live in the ocean and they're super sensitive to climate change. But we get the kids to do all kinds of fun things, like every kid pretends to be a coral polyp, which is the little animal that makes up a coral, and they wave their tentacles, and we throw pretend food in the term of soap bubbles or else real candy over their heads, and they try and catch it. And it turns out that when you do that, you automatically act exactly like real corals. You become super competitive because you want to catch the food, and the real corals do the same thing. So anyway, I was inspired for all that by my mom, but yeah.
That's off tap, Dr. Murray. That's so cool. I told you, I'm just so grateful that people like you come on this podcast and chat about coral reef and fighting for food. Is that because there's not much of it, or is it just because
Yes, so you can think of oceans kind of like a desert. So there's coral reefs are a bit like an oasis in a vast desert. So there's pockets in the ocean where there's a lot of nutrients and food for different creatures, but a lot of it there isn't. So and so when you have these little coral animals waving their tentacles, they only get about 5% of the energy they need from waving their tentacles. And the way that they survive is that they have microscopic plants that live inside their tissues that take sunshine and convert it into sugar. So kids love this because it's like corals have a best friend that lives inside their bodies, except there's a billion of it, and it constantly pours candy down their throat. But corals don't even have teeth, so they don't even have to brush their teeth.
I never get a filling from all the chocolate.
Yeah.
I love it.
So yeah, corals are amazing organisms.
They have BFFs who give them chocolate. That is best. I love it.
And that because those plants are plants, they're photosynthetic, right? So photosynthesis, taking sun into sugar, and the pigments in them that allow them to do that are colorful, just like leaves on a tree are colorful. And so it's actually those plants that give the corals their color.
The BFFs.
Yeah. Yep.
Stop it.
Yeah. So one more crazy thing that you might appreciate. This can go wrong. So if the ocean water is too hot and too hot is only 1 degree Celsius hotter than normal. If it's that hot for 4 weeks in a row, roughly, then the photosynthesis chemical reaction inside these plants goes supercharged and it goes wrong, and it starts to produce free radicals, which are destructive to the coral. And so then the coral has to spit out or eject the plants, which are, by the way, called zooxanthellae. So it spits out the zooxanthellae and it makes them turn white. So you've probably heard of coral bleaching.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's called bleaching because they turn white. And when they're white like that, it means they're getting very hungry, maybe even hangry. They can starve to death. Because remember, I told you they're only getting 5% of their energy from using their tentacles. So if the water cools off in time, they can recover and get new plants inside them. But if it doesn't, they can bleach and die. And that's why corals are at immense risk from climate change. But the fun part that you might enjoy is that I actually have a coral polyp costume that I wear. It's a white child's play tunnel that I wear, and it has Velcro all over it. And then stuck onto the Velcro are all these colorful felt bits of fabric, and those are meant to be the plants. And so I tell kids this whole story, and then I put that on, and I have this big fake thermometer. I get some kid to make it get really hot, and then I'm like, ow, ow, ow. The zooxanthellae are hurting me. And then I invite the kids to come up and rip off all the zooxanthellae colored fabric. And then I ask them, what's happened? What color am I? And they're like, oh, you've turned white. You're bleaching. And then we let the water cool down, and then they put it all back, and I recover and become colorful again. So it's really fun to think of things like that, where people can physically do something to learn the science concept. It makes it a lot more memorable and
Dr. Mark,
crazy.
you're extremely memorable. That is so cool. That is such a good story and so interactive for kids too.
Yeah, they go a bit wild, but
Um, Mrs. G, my beautiful wife, amazing wife of 31 years, was a primary school teacher.
ah,
I know, right? And so she taught, get this, here's a story. She taught the first year of prep in Queensland when Queensland introduced prep, which was
ooh,
then she taught the last year of grade 7 before grade 7 became high school in Queensland, which was only
so
yeah,
all the years.
all the years she's done. I think prep 1, 5, 6, and 7. There's only a couple she hasn't done. So I get the engaging young minds. So thank you for sharing. Great story.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Now let's talk about your influence on the planet. So you said that you've spoken to thousands of kids. You said you've got this game that you play. You gamify coral bleaching, which I think is an amazing thing for kids. So I held up that photo before. Can you just tell us a little bit more now about what mission you're on? You're going to break a world record, which I can't wait to hear about.
Oh, yes. Okay. So I'll just put it into context.
Please.
So, like I said, I go around to kids teaching them about climate change, and I like to incorporate art into that. And so far I've talked about interactive kind of performance art, but also get kids to like make corals out of Play-Doh or Lego. But to engage kids and their associated adults all around the globe, twice I've run international drawing competitions in 2018 and preparing to go to Antarctica. I got 1,246 drawings from 11 countries, drawing what they love most about penguins and coral reefs. And we had a giant banner 7 meters high by 5 meters wide, which we filmed in Antarctica at a penguin colony and on the deck of our ship, which is trickier than you would think because a banner of that size catches the wind really easily, and Antarctica is the windiest continent on Earth, so we had to have a totally still day. And then I decided to do that again in 2021. And I asked kids to draw what they love most about trees as a way to help cool the earth, to help penguins, coral reefs, and people, of course. And we planted a tree for every drawing near Melbourne. Our partner, 15 Trees, is a company that gets people to pay to have trees planted to offset their carbon emissions. So they did that. So that time we got 2,629 drawings from 33 countries. And again, we made a giant banner. This time I made 2 copies of it because it was COVID. And we sent one of the giant banners to the United Nations climate meeting, which was held in Glasgow. And one of my friends is a Greens senator there, and she held an event in the Green Zone at the COP with the giant banner. And that way I had the other one. And so I've taken the giant banner to 15 countries, and nearly 10,000 kids, nearly 9,000 kids have touched it, played with it, seen it in person in Europe, Sri Lanka, Singapore, Malaysia, and all around Australia. Wow. So what I'm doing now, I should say, and I'm a drone pilot. So I take drone film of kids with the giant banner spelling out messages. So in Melbourne recently, they spelled out Save Earth because they had a giant school of 600, so they could make a really long one. Other ones have said help. In Sri Lanka, actually, they were amazing. They did a moving one. So first they spelled act, and then they moved to spell now. So it goes act now, because they only had about 90 students, so they could only do 3 letters at a time. But anyway, I make these videos out of this, and where kids have media permission from their parents, their actual voices as well. And that has been shown at 4 different United Nations climate meetings. But I feel like this should be more newsworthy than it has been, because the more newsworthy it is, the more pressure it puts on people to not forget about the fact that kids actually deserve a safe earth to live on that's not too hot and where they have clean air to breathe. So I discovered that you could actually do a marathon tree hug. And then I discovered this wonderful young woman called Trifina Multhani from Kenya, who had just broken the world record for tree hugging, and that she was planning already to go to the next United Nations meeting in Brazil, COP30, and break her world record. So I thought, this is so fantastic. I will show solidarity with her and mirror her tree hug, which is going to be 72 hours in Australia, and ask people from all over the world, kids and adults, to do their own tree hug. Take a picture, so not for 72 hours, just any hugging of a tree you might have already done, and it might already be on your camera, and send that in. So my website is https kidscareaboutclimate.org. So if you go there, you can upload your tree hug photo, and that will help raise the profile of this simultaneous marathon tree hugging that we're going to do. That's going to start on the starting date of the United Nations climate meeting, which is November 10th. So the more of these tree hug photos we get, the greater awareness and impact and pressure we can bring to bear to make sure that kids are on everyone's minds when they're negotiating. And just in general, any decision maker anytime has a choice to kind of neglect or set aside the negative environmental impacts of something for other reasons that may seem more important. But instead, we should be keeping that in mind, because in the long term, it's more expensive to ignore it. But yes, please hug a tree. Hug a tree.
Hug a tree.
It feels good.
You can hug a tree for longer. And you're going to, did you say you want to put
yes,
it?
Yes.
Yes.
I forgot to say that. So yes, I'm going to hug the tree for the 72 hours or 3 days with Trifina for sure. But for every photo you send, I will add one more minute to my tree hug, and I will hug my tree for up to 1 week. So up to 4 additional days. Um, because, why not? And that,
Because you
and
can.
then we'll look into, like, depending on how many tree hug photos we get, whether there's a world record we could get for that. But Trifina is going to get the world record tree hugging one. We're not going to try and compete with her for that
Right.
because she should do that. And anyway, like, we're
But what
all
are
on the.
are you just doing it for the love then? Are you just doing it for?
Well, I'm hoping if we get enough tree hugging photos, we could also get a world record for the number of photos. But yeah, I'm not really. The only reason I even cared about the world record was because I thought it would be newsworthy. Because
Ah,
people like the idea of self-sacrifice and someone doing something they don't think they could do, so taking them on a journey they wouldn't otherwise go. So that was the idea. But yeah, I'm very happy for Trifina to have the world record.
good on you. Good on you. So
And
you're not
she,
you're not competitive.
well, I am competitive with myself, but
Right.
I think, like, in conservation, in such a dire world situation, we need to be amplifying and helping each other,
Not
not competing. Like,
love it.
and now that we're doing this together, it's a win-win because all the people that know her are joining with me and vice versa. So it's not a loss to me at all that I don't get the world record. It's only a gain.
Beautiful attitude. I love it. No, it is. It's amazing. And congrats, by the way. And I've just downloaded I'm not very good at multitasking. If I was a good multitasker, I'd bring up on my other screen the website.
Ah, your mini tree hug.
Yes, my mini tree. Is it? I hope that's okay. I hope that's
That's
okay.
totally fine. So,
Cool.
I mean, I'm glad you bring that up because people need to know it can be any tree hug. You might have done it 10 years ago and you have a photo of it still.
That's it.
Whatever speaks to you. And, the more the better. So if you
Yeah.
know people who probably have one already or would love the idea of doing it,
Yeah.
let them know.
And
Invite
it's
them to be part of it.
absolutely, and it's the 22nd today. And our commitment is we're going to get this out hopefully by the end of the week, within 48 hours. And
Oh,
so,
okay.
because your tree hug starts early November by memory.
Yeah, so the first day of the United Nations climate meeting is the 10th of November. So Trifina and I will both start hugging our trees at the exact same time, which in Perth time, so Western Australia time, will be 11 a.m. on that day, which is a Monday.
Cool.
So I've set the tree hugging photo part to deadline to be the 1st of November to give me time to know, okay, how long do I need to hug the tree for? Because I need to create a roster of people to come check on me and bring me,
Boom.
food and water. And
All the stuff.
also, you're allowed every 24 hours to have up to a 2-hour break so you can go to the toilet and stuff. So I need people to, like, hug the tree briefly while I go.
So you don't get to go to the toilet in the first 24 hours?
I'm assuming that means that day too. But yes, I can check that. But I think Trifina is hardcore. She doesn't plan
Just
to
a week.
leave her tree for the entire 3 days. So,
That'll
she's
be interesting to
22.
see.
I'm 55. She can be the hardcore version, and I'm going to be the old person's version who does leave the tree to go to the toilet.
I'm with you. I'm with you. I've had two kids. I've got a weak bladder, Dr. Murray.
Yep.
I'd have to be going to the toilet all the time.
Yeah. So it's great because the tree that I'm going to hug, it's at the University of Western Australia. It
Nice.
was originally planted in 1963 by the late Queen Elizabeth II. during her Jubilee celebrations when she visited Australia. So it's a huge fig tree. I think it's 25 meters canopy. So it's nice and shady because it'll be quite hot by November 10th in Perth.
But you must be able
So,
to take your hand off it to drink or something for a while.
well,
Yeah. That's
Trofina will not be
yeah.
removing her hands for the whole time, but I am allowing myself to have one hand free if I need to because I'm still hugging it with the other hand. So,
Nice.
yeah.
You can feel it. Have you ever read the book The Hidden Life of Trees? Have you ever? Isn't
Yes.
that just an intriguing piece of literature?
Yes, it's amazing. And then the later books by Suzanne Sinard. Have you heard of the Wood Wide Web instead of the World Wide Web, the Wood Wide Web? So what she discovered in her ecological experiments was that there's this underground network where the roots of the trees are colonized with all kinds of fungi and stuff, and they can transfer nutrients and stuff in between trees. And there's this concept of the mother tree, helping out all the baby ones that don't get enough sunlight. And it's actually way more complicated and cool than, you
And
know,
people would know. Most
yeah.
people would know that. And the
Yeah,
mother.
so if you've ever seen like a stump of a tree, but it's still growing, it can be because it's being nurtured by a family member underground.
Empathy. Talk about empathy. And
It's wild. Yeah, it's really fascinating, the research that's going on in all different areas of science where in lots of areas, but especially in plants, we're discovering that plants, well, I personally am not, but scientists are discovering that plants are way more
intelligent.
interesting than we
Intelligent.
thought.
I know.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that motherly aspect of trees raising their young and just shielding them and just helping them grow and sometimes trees fight. If they
Yeah.
fight in
Yeah.
the same place,
Definitely. Hmm.
as we know that some sort of go up and take over others, and all of a sudden some can't get enough. So it's a really intriguing book for anyone out there. The Hidden Life of Trees. Get it on Audible because there's a little bit of voice work that goes with it, and it's really quite entertaining. So thank you so much, Dr. Mari. You're amazing. Now, from a leadership perspective, you are influencing, you're leading humans. What's your leadership motto? What is it for you that drives how you interact with other humans or how you lead other humans?
Yeah, so it's a great question. As you've probably heard this from other scientists when you've asked this question, but there's a very narrow and specific kind of definition of what leading and being influential is in science. So you're meant to get journal articles published in very high profile journals. Lots of people are meant to read your articles and mention you in their journal articles, and you're meant to win big grants. So, for example, in Australia, one of the most prestigious grants, the Discovery Grant from the Australian Research Council, for a mid-career woman to get one of those, the success rate is like less than 15%.
Wow.
So I used to think that I had it characterized after we won our teaching award that we were really failed scientists because instead of focusing on doing those things I just mentioned, we were wasting our time on teaching. And not everyone thinks that way because at University of Wollongong I did get promoted a level based on teaching excellence, but most of the time that's the focus. And so when I was accepted into an international leadership program for women in STEM, Homeward Bound, which Martin would have talked about to you, and we voyaged to Antarctica, plus the year-long program that went with it, I realized that I didn't have to buy into that. When I think about how am I having influence, I can define that in any way that's relevant to my skills, my unique values and what I feel good about. So the way I look at it is, if I look in the mirror and I feel proud of what I've done, then that means that thing that I've done must be in accordance with the values that are most important to me. And if I do something that is against those values, it wouldn't matter if I won the Nobel Prize. I would still never feel I did enough because I've betrayed like who I am and what I have to offer. And so that was a great learning from Homeward Bound. And I had always done outreach to people of all ages, but I stopped worrying about whether a scientist should really be doing that, and I started leaning into it. And so when I think about influence, I think about how a person should first look deeply as to what their actual values are, and then look at what are the unique skills that they bring. So, like, I'm really creative. I don't mind wearing an inflatable penguin or Earth or T-Rex costume. Uh, I have wild ideas, and I don't, like one of your previous guests, Lisa Blair, who sailed around Antarctica. I'm happy to jump in and start something when I'm not sure how it's going to actually work. So those are all things I can do, but other people can have major influence in totally different ways. Like, I've got a friend, Beck, who's quiet and would never do those things, but she is super good at organizing people, facilitating something, a big initiative, and she loves that. And that's like equally or maybe even more valuable than what I bring to it. So I try to like encourage people to realize, that they have a really unique something that they can offer, and they don't have to pigeonhole it just because society says it should be this or that. Because, then that frees them up to bring their best self to whatever it is that's important.
Oh, I
Yeah.
love it. So for you, feel proud of your your own creativity and your own abilities, line them up with your values, and then really lean into your uniqueness and your creativity. And from a leader perspective and an influence perspective, help other people to realize their uniqueness.
Yeah, that's right. So, for example, I'm in my role, I've been working in the same job for 10 years, and I haven't applied for promotion because I've been running this massive outreach program in my spare time.
Right. And you've
So,
got,
I don't have to feel like I'm stagnated or I've failed because I'm choosing to invest in something else. So,
nice. You're fulfilled, we say, in life, and over the whole gamut of your existence.
well, yeah, and when you think about coral reefs, which is what I study, and we talked about how they're at extreme risk from climate change, I could write 10 more papers documenting them slowly going extinct, or I could try and inspire kids and parents and teachers to come together collectively.
Wow.
So that's another thing that I didn't get to, I
Wow.
think, in my non concise way of talking here. So when you run these international drawing contests, one of the great things is that it gives people a taste of what it feels like to be part of a collective where everyone is trying to focus on a vision for a better future. So when you join together with other people in community and you use art, it's actually fun, uh, but it's also, it
Rewarding.
feels, Greta Thunberg has a great quote, which is, we don't need your hope. What we need is action. Once you start to act, hope is everywhere. And so it's giving people that first step about how to take action and to feel how good that feels, to do it with other people. And then, hopefully, if they've been part of it, they then go off and seek that find another project in their local area they can join or start their own one. But I feel like my role is to like be that catalyst to help them understand. And I think last time I told you a heart-wrenching story that relates to this. So when I think about, am I having influence? You could be real scientific about it and say, okay, in Hawaii, there's a laboratory that tells you how much carbon dioxide is in the air today. Is that number going up or down? And if I'm having influence and people are, doing things to reduce our carbon emissions, it should be going down, but it's still going up. I've failed. Better give up. But no, I don't look at it that way because I had in the middle of the night, one night, I was looking at photos of flowers on my magnolia tree, which has beautiful white flowers that smell divine, but in Perth were dry. So sometimes the flowers start to turn brown partially before they even come out all the way. And I was thinking about my mother, as we talked about, who died of pancreatic cancer. And I was thinking about how she wasn't perfect, like the brown on the flowers, but she was still amazing because none of us are perfect. And then I thought, well, while she was sick, we always knew she was going to die because she had such a horrible cancer that every single person who gets dies of, usually within months. Was it totally useless to do all the nice things I did for her, like make sure there was a fresh tablecloth, or I finished all the art projects she'd been working on because she was a fiber artist. She was making these stuffed toys for my daughter, who was a toddler, like 1 year old at the time. And I did all those things, and I never thought that was a waste of time, even though the end goal was never going to be achieved because she was going to die. And then I realized anything we can do to take away some of the warming is worth doing. Like any fraction of a degree that doesn't warm translates into a huge amount of suffering of people and creatures that doesn't happen. So if we ultimately fail, it doesn't matter. It's still worth making the most of every minute along that journey.
If we fail, it is still worth it.
The only way to be sure to fail is to give up. And I recommend to everyone, especially if you have kids, but even if you don't, the How to Train Your Dragon book series by Cressida Cowell. There's some movies and TV shows, and they're fine, but the books are amazing, super humorous, super witty, and the hero, Hiccup Horrendous Haddock III, he's the most unlikely Viking hero because he's scrawny and he can't play any of the games, and he's nice and he doesn't like to insult people, and he gets bullied, but he goes through all these challenges, and he never gives up, and in the end he frees their world from slavery of people and dragons. So it's really cool.
How cool. I haven't watched it yet. I think the kids might have just been just past it when it came out 10 years ago.
Yeah, well, I recommend the books rather than the movie. But the movies are fine, but the books are way better. But then I'm pretty biased. I love reading, so.
Me too. I love writing as well. I just like reading, writing, and making it.
Yeah.
And we've sent you each one of these, so
I can't wait to receive those. Thank you so much.
And that was to say sorry for last time. Dr. Marji, you're amazing.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, best ever. So much love. I'm going to get more academics on. I'm just loving talking to academics. Dr. Jen.
Nerds rule.
Oh, absolutely. We call my son a nerd. He gets a little bit put out, let's say. I explain him as, well, I used to call him a boffin, and he said, Dad, I am a software engineer. That's okay.
You should tell him, I can't repeat it word for word, but you can look it up. There's a comparison between how much money Michael Jordan, the basketball player, makes like every year or in his lifetime or whatever, and then they say, and that's how much Bill Gates makes in 1 minute or something like that.
That's right. Go the nerd. Go the nerd. And Tobes is a software engineer, so he's in the right field.
Yep.
Now, just in saying that, Dr. Mari, I always ask this question just before we stop recording, and I probably should stop recording before I ask this question, but who's another great guest? Who would you, if you or me?
Yeah, so you've already had some really amazing guests that I might have said, but another person, well, there's two. There's one that's unattainable probably, which is Christina Figueres.
Yeah.
She's a Costa Rican diplomat who was the chair of the UNFCCC when the Paris Climate Agreement was negotiated, and she was like the leading force behind that. And the way that she convinced 195 countries to agree when it was against some of their interests, because some of the countries are super fossil fuel dependent, the way she convinced them was using principles from Buddhism to deeply listen and engage and help people rise above and see the bigger picture from the perspective of all humanity. And it's the most inspiring thing. I spent 3 weeks on a ship with her in Antarctica with Homeward Bound, but she's extraordinarily in demand and busy, so you might not be able to get her. But if you could,
that's right.
well, otherwise,
her name? Christiana who? Sorry.
Figueres.
Figueres.
I can send it to you and
thank you.
Yeah. And then another really inspiring person is Florence Cattell. She's also on LinkedIn. She's a neuroscientist, so another nerd for you. And she's also an endurance athlete. So she did a bike ride from Darwin to Adelaide. But she also does ultra marathons. And she is also running a consultancy business helping people prevent burnout, yet still try, meet their goals. So that it's really cool.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. That is amazing. Thank you.
Yeah,
so
she's
much.
super nice.
Oh, can't wait to talk to her. Woman of my own heart.
Yes, because you just did a triathlon, did you not?
Yeah, did only little baby ones, so it wouldn't be up to Florence's level. But they have done Ironman in the past, so they're big days. They're sort of 14-hour days, so they're.
Yeah, well, like I don't run. I can only walk, and I do it slowly, but sometimes for a long time.
I know, and we didn't even talk about the walk that you did with your two boys. You walked with two they're twins, yeah?
Yeah, I've got twin boys. At the time, last year that we did this, they were 12, and we hiked an iconic through hike in Western Australia, which is called the Cape to Cape, which is 130 kilometers. So they each carried about 9 kilos on their backs because we camped along the way, and I had a 15 to 20 kilo pack. And we had everything go wrong: gastro, blisters, needing new hiking boots, etc. But we made it. Yeah, it was great.
And they came together, you told me, two twin boys that.
Well, yes. So, they love each other, but they're teenage boys, so they constantly like picking at each other. But what they discovered was if you push it too far and your brother gets really pissed off and sits down and won't move for a half an hour, you really don't want that when you're hiking for 8 hours that day.
Great story, Dr. Mari. Great story. There must be a research report in that somewhere. How do you get 11 or 12-year-old boys to hike together well and not fight? Yeah,
it's interesting because, it's hard to get kids off their computers and their phones, and they didn't bring their phones, and they weren't bored. They loved it.
Did they get straight back on their phones when they got back, or did they manage to
sort
of...
You've got to take them completely into something amazing to, be able to fight off the phone. Yeah.
Marji, you are freaking amazing now. Thank you to all our listeners and our viewers. Thanks for listening. We just had an amazing guest on to another amazing podcast of Find Your Influence. My name's Anton Guinea, and for 20 years, I have been sitting, working with, training, coaching and consulting leaders at all levels of organisations. I've coached Gen Z leaders right through to baby boomer leaders. I've done 1,500 one-on-one leadership coaching sessions. My mission on this planet is to help leaders create high-performing and psychologically safe teams. If you want to upgrade your leadership, upskill your teams, or upskill your leadership, please reach out. You can get me at anton@theguineagroup.com.au. Please tune into our next episode. These podcast chats are amazing. The value and the information that you get will help you be more influential and help you be a better leader.